Well, everyone, I'd like to call into session the LFUCG Ethics Commission special meeting for this evening, February 20th, 2024. We have with us as the requester our Vice Mayor Dan Wu. Vice Mayor Wu, welcome.
Thank you.
We've got two different advisory opinion requests on the agenda tonight. First, AO 2024-001, and then subsequently AO 2024-003, both with Vice Mayor Wu as the requester. We'll take those in order. The first being about, as I would describe it generally, and Vice Mayor Wu, I'll let you sort of introduce it, but issues related to the Ethics Act and campaigning.
Yeah, so I had a question from a colleague about whether or not, as a candidate, they are able to link to city websites, basically. So if, for example, if I were the candidate and I had on my social media, hey, this thing is happening in the Parks Department, and here's a link to, lexington.ky.gov/parks. And I think right now the language sounds like it prohibits that, but it's one of those things that I kind of talked it out with a couple of folks, and it doesn't make as much sense because those are all public. It's not insider information. It's not privileged information, anything like that. It's things that are publicly accessible to anyone. So they felt like that was something that we should be able to do.
Okay, and as a related question to that opinion, also there was an issue, I believe, about employees and working hours.
Yeah, so the rules as it states right now basically says that LFUCG employees can work on political campaigns. They just can't do it during work hours. Now, for some people, that's 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. But for a lot of people who work from home or have flexible schedules, it's not necessarily that. So I'm wondering how that's defined. If I were a LFUCG employee and I wanted to work on somebody's campaign and I work 9 to 12 this morning with my regular work, and then between 1 and 2, I do some campaign work, and then I do, regular LFUCG work for the rest of the evening. Like, how is that defined and differentiated?
Okay. With that, I will open up to commission members. If folks have any questions of Vice Mayor Wu about these two aspects of the request for AO-2024-01.
I have one. Vice Mayor Wu, my name is Matt Ellison. I'm one of the representatives on the commission. I wanted to find out, it looks like as part of the submissions to the commission, there was some sort of advisory from the Department of Law on a couple of these things. Do you have any, was that in direct response to an inquiry that you made, or do you know how that, I guess, sort of advisory opinion or advisory take got into existence?
Are you talking about the very recent ones that have more to do with donations?
The donations were part of it. I'm scrolling through my packet right now. I guess it's the memo to the department, or it's memo from the Department of Law. It talks about use of government personnel, and I think it also has the issue of the internet in there. Do you know, was that something that was generated as a result of your inquiry to the Ethics Commission? Like somebody else weighed in on it before it got to us?
No, that I believe that was an independent thing that the law department decided because we're in a campaign year and we have several council members who are running. They decided to kind of just issue it as a reminder.
Okay, so to your understanding, this wasn't anything special circumstances other than some seats were up for election this year.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's not directly linked to my request.
Okay, thank you.
And Vice Mayor, one thing that I failed to mention at the beginning, you had marked this request as waiving confidentiality, correct?
Yes, correct.
That's why I didn't mention it. I didn't think I apologized for that. In terms of the LFUCG website itself, is there parts of the website that individual council members have input into.
What do you mean exactly?
For example, I wasn't sure how, I noticed most of the council members, almost all of them, had a bio on the first page. Not being familiar with that, is the biomaterial something that each individual council member provides and writes up?
Yeah, we submit those ourselves. Some of us, I think the minority of us have control over that page itself that we can go in and edit. And usually, though, most of us, I think, make a request to, I think it's Amy Wallet, who works in the mayor's office, who handles all the website stuff. If we have a change or an edit or something like that, she handles it. So yeah, all the bios are essentially written by us or our aides.
So I have a question, Vice Mayor David Blake here. So my understanding would be is that there's a lot of material on the Urban County website that anyone can access, and if they care to, link to whatever homepage they had or whatever. And it's your question as to whether the current language in the regulations or the directives would prevent that from happening if someone happened to be not just a citizen, but also a candidate, or more particularly a council member. So am I understanding this correctly?
Yeah, that's essentially the question. So where it came up as sort of confusing or didn't seem right was that if you, as a non-incumbent, as a challenger, wanted to post anything, link up anything LFUCG, you could. But if I was, as an incumbent and a current elected official, I couldn't. And that to me doesn't make any sense, mainly because that information is not privileged, it's public.
So would an elected official have access to portions of the website that a non-incumbent candidate or member of the public wouldn't?
Not as far as I'm aware. There's not a secret or privileged part of our website. Yeah,
I would think so. So
Yeah.
so the whole website is open to public inspection.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from commission members? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to go into closed session. If someone has that motion prepared so that we can deliberate.
If I may, so I move to go into closed session pursuant to KRS 61-810 subsection 1F and KRS 61-810 subsection 1J, as discussion of AO 2024-001 may lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an employee, member, or officer, and contains the deliberations of a quasi-judicial body regarding individual adjudication.
Thank you, David. I have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of going into closed session for deliberation, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Vice Mayor Wu, we're going to put you in the lobby electronically in the world of the magic of Zoom. So if we can have that happen, we can go into closed session. Vice Mayor Wu, very appreciative of your patience.
No problem.
We had a good and lively discussion, and I will entertain motions from the commission on the resolution that we've come up with.
Sure. I guess I should make the motion since I wrote down the official notes or observations here. And so this will kind of serve as an explanation, Vice Mayor, as well as kind of where the commission came to on the two issues. The first one being the question of on the clock and campaigning and political activity, particularly with respect to those who have flexible work schedules or work from home or other non-traditional linear work days. I think the commission does not believe that it obviously is a violation of the Ethics Act for anybody on a work from home or alternative work schedule to engage in political activity during what we would consider to be the normal, hours of a workday. That doesn't take into account the realities of flexible schedules, people's, different needs and exigencies of particular circumstances. I think so. The commission is leaning in the direction of making sure that if an employee with a flexible work schedule does wish to engage in political activity, that they be primarily concerned with the not interfering with the expectations of their availability during a particular day to perform their work duties, whether those expectations are set forth in writing or whether or not they're established through that employee's regular practice as far as when they're available and when they're not available. The employee needs to make sure that the performance of any political activity at any point during that day does not impair, delay, or interfere with the timely performance of their job duties and expectations. And obviously, to the extent that any flexible schedule employee or non-traditional employee work schedule, to the extent that they have to report hours on the clock or worked, none of those times reported should be spent engaging in political activity.
Okay, thank you for that.
I will entertain a motion, at least for that part, for the law department to prepare an ethics opinion consistent with that description.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second, and also note that the KRS 67310 notation that we made in our closed session is included as well.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Matt, would you like to continue?
I guess I will. Issue 2, Vice Mayor, was the question about the links to pages that are available on the LFUCG website. And I think after a very extensive period of discussion, the commission is of the opinion that a incumbent candidate simply linking on their own political campaign page, or whatever we'll call it, non-public page, to LFUCG sites or links in of itself is not a violation of Section 25(8) of the Ethics Act. The commission does not view that as an inappropriate use of that particular site, but the commission does so based on the fact that under Section 25(8) sub 2, there is an allowance as far as the use of, we'll call it public property, which the LFUCG website is, if the use is available to the general public, and then only to the extent and upon the terms that such use is available to the general public. So while links themselves to LFUCG websites we believe are permissible under the Ethics Act, there obviously is a concern about council members who have the ability to influence or alter the content of LFUCG web pages, because that is not an ability that rests in the general public. And if council members influence the content of any particular LFUCG web page, they at least run the risk of the appearance of impropriety if there is a link to that particular web page on that candidate's own political materials, website, whatever you want to call it. Ultimately, the council or the commission also recognizes that this particular section of the Ethics Act was enacted long before the internet was a thing and before links were anything but pieces of a chain. And so it's ultimately the commission's belief that should the LFUCG council feel differently, that they should address this particular issue by a specific ordinance or enactment.
May I ask a clarifying question?
To the extent we can clarify it, yes, sir.
Okay. So what is the what is the, I think it's clear to me if I wanted to, let's say, link to the parks page or the paving page or something like that, because we have no impact or influence on how that page is managed. It sounds like that's permissible. But if I were to, for example, as a candidate, link to my own vice mayor page in the lexingtonky.gov, which I can influence or edit, is that second part permissible with caution or not permissible?
Yeah, I would say it's hard to give a hypothetical as far as what you update it with. I would say that if, like, let's give an extreme example. If you were to update your bio on your page to trumpet all of your accomplishments, or list this and list that and talk about how wonderful a person you are, or things like that, I think that's clearly that's definitely in the direction of, because your use of that web page, it's not the same as what the general public would have. Then I think let me just say that be caution as far as any updates to something that you control, because of the fact that in section 25(8) of the Ethics Act, the use is available to the general public. So linking obviously is available to the general public. Control of content is not.
Gotcha. Okay, I appreciate that.
Do I have a motion for the law department to draft an ethics opinion or advisory opinion consistent with what Matt has described with respect to the linking on website?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Very good. Any further discussion? Everyone in support signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Very good. That concludes AO 2024-01. I personally have a conflict with respect to the other ethics opinion 2024-03, and so I am going to leave the meeting. Carrie Howard has agreed to be the chair of the meeting in my stead. Vice Mayor Wu, thank you very much for being here this evening. Commission members, law department members, thank you all as well. And everyone have a great evening.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, please be patient with the substitute teacher. But if I think at this point we need to go back into closed session to discuss the second matter. And do we need to do that with Vice Mayor going back without us?
Carrie, could I ask the Vice Mayor a question or two before we go into closed session?
Hold on,
Sure.
we should clarify. Vice Mayor, Wu, is this advisory opinion confidential, or do you want to waive confidentiality?
This one is confidential.
Okay, then we will have to go into closed session, and then we'll go into executive session. So we should stop recording if you have questions to ask the Vice Mayor.
Okay. Thank you.
So were those questions about this second issue?
Yeah, yes, they were, Carrie.
Okay, so let's entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So I move to go into closed session pursuant to KRS 61-81-810 subsection 1F and KRS 61-810 subsection 1-J as discussion of AO 2024-003 may lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an employee, member, or officer, and contains the deliberations of a quasi-judicial body regarding individual adjudications.
So
I'll
moved.
second. I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Yeah. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so let's go into executive session. So that concludes all of the items on the agenda, I believe, for tonight. With anybody having any other business before the commission, if I can entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Any second?
I'll second.
Brenda? Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? No, thanks, everyone. Do I need to follow up with anybody from the law department with respect to this, or will you follow
I'll
up?
follow up with you.
Okay,
Once I have a draft, I'll follow up with you.
okay, and or the real chair. I
I'll
think,
follow up with him too.
okay, all right.
There'll be one that you would potentially sign once approved by the commission, and then one that AJ would sign.
Okay,